I don't want to be that guy that points out the elephant in the room, but Roy Hodgson is not a long-term manager solution for Crystal Palace. I think they've done fantastically well to bring Roy out of retirement to help them in their time of need, and he's done an unreal job in steadying the ship and getting positive results despite a terribly shit transfer window. Well, Zaha, the talisman, is left, and there's not really been much material in terms of income and transfers. We'll see how Franca works out. Now, I'm a huge fan of Roy Hodgson, and he's had a career that anyone could be proud of, not just at domestic level, but at international level. And for a British manager to go across and, do the things he's done, not many people can say, and I think he has the respect of everyone in the footballing world, but he was just brought out of retirement. So he probably plans on going back, or maybe he doesn't, but retirement is nigh for Roy Hodgson. And it made me think, with how good a position Crystal Palace in, this is one of the most attractive jobs in European football, but there's not that many obvious candidates out there. So in the video today, I'll explain to you why I think the Crystal Palace job is one of the best jobs, one of the hottest jobs available in European football at the moment. Who are the runners and riders? Who could be the contenders out there? And why haven't Crystal Palace appointed someone already? At any point in the video, if you laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your support, guys. So if you do enjoy the content here, hit the like button, hit subscribe for more content like this, and yeah, let's just get stuck into it. Now, this is the last time for me that Crystal Palace were able to field their best 11, and that was against Nottingham Forest last season in this 1-1 draw. Now, there's been a few transfers, so maybe we can talk about some of the pieces that have came in and out, but for the largest part, this is the best team, and they've not been able to play this team at all this season, and, they've had a good, I would even say slightly above expectation beginning to the season. A lovely victory away at Old Trafford, a narrow loss to Arsenal. Every one of these games has a story, very tight results, and the squad is very thin. But one of the things I love about this Crystal Palace squad as we look through it is there's either guys like Joe Ward and Rob Holding that have been around the block, or there's a lot of emerging talent, guys like Tyrick Mitchell, Mark Guéhi, even Chris Richards I'm a big fan of as well. And then they've got guys in midfield that they've given a real opportunity to over the last season and a half. And really, this season could kick on in a big way. Guys like T&Cs, Michael Olise, Cheikh Doucouré. But as we scan across this squad, you're not going to find anyone that's on a massive contract, that's got a massive ego, that is a massive problem in any real respect. Jordan Ayew, Odsonne Edouard, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Eberechi Eze, Michael Olise, these guys are the top earners in the club, and their wage compared to the rest of the Premier League is not anything to be underestimated for how well they've managed to capitalise on this squad with keeping it very bare. Well, it's been very clear that the club has been a little bit directionless. Now, on the face of it, looking at this club who really love to promote from their youth ranks and, of course, love to try and bring a style of football with an avid home support that is well renowned as being one of the best, if not the best home support in the Premier League, I would be thinking go to Holland and look at the best guys at Ajax and PSV and all the rest of it. And that would probably lead you to someone like Erik ten Hag, but I don't think Erik ten Hag would do that great in this Crystal Palace squad, and Crystal Palace have already been down the Frank de Boer route, as it were. Arne Slot is also the guy that's round about at Feyenoord at the moment. They made a lot of headlines for knocking back the Tottenham job, but after you knock back Tottenham to stay at Feyenoord, it feels like he's maybe going to try and hold out for a bigger job, potentially. What I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section is any sort of organic grassroots appointment that you think that Crystal Palace could make. Maybe an up-and-coming manager in League One, League Two, maybe even the Championship, maybe even in Crystal Palace's own youth ranks. But I do think Crystal Palace, because they have such a young, coachable squad with such a wide range on, their finances to be able to go and implement a new manager style of play, that they really could go down the organic route and really try and focus on harnessing even more of their youth academy and strengthening what is clearly one of their main strengths in, the footballing pyramid. Because that level of football is just not something that's really on my radar. So as soon as I think about those ones are probably the most optimal solutions for a team like Crystal Palace that have emerging talent, have the budget to go and create a new identity under a new leader. On the surface, the obvious person then becomes Graham Potter. Now, I'm not a fan of this for a few different reasons. It didn't work for Steve Bruce. It didn't work for Alex McLeish. It didn't work for Rafa Benitez. It maybe kind of worked for Jose Mourinho, but I think Chelsea Man United isn't really that much of a derby, and he kind of had a long stated thing to move to Man United anyway because of Alex Ferguson. Point being, with the Bruce, the McLeish, the Benitez, those types of examples, You know, it doesn't matter how connected you are to the club or how well you do, crossing that divide is very hard. And although I do believe Graham Potter would be, on the face of it, an ideal appointment, I've got a suspicion he's probably holding out for the England job. Now, for where we sit in the Premier League at the moment, I think there's a clear line, and Crystal Palace is that line for clubs that have got their shit together and clubs that haven't. And Crystal Palace is that line. It's a club that does firmly have their shit together. You know, like I mentioned, they're not overcommitted in any area. They've not went down a path that they're now changing direction from. They aren't a real blank canvas. And thanks to Roy Hodgson coming in and steadying the ship, it's bought them time. They should be looking around in the market for the most ideal candidate to come in and help elevate them. Because if you look at the league table, the teams that are just ahead of them, Newcastle, West Ham, Brighton, Aston Villa, these are the sort of teams that Crystal Palace should be aspiring to keep pace with, and if not, outdo. Aston Villa and West Ham have had a good kind of period of having good synergy between the transfer department and their manager for different periods of time, and they're having different levels of success. Brighton, of course, have been a real trailblazer in their own regard, and Brentford are probably the exception to this rule. They're probably the team in the bottom half of the table that I would say they do have their shit together. They've maybe just not had the best run of games so far, with 4 draws and 1 win so far. But with Newcastle now getting top 4, top 6 level investment into the squad, you expect them to be able to always kind of outmuscle you in the transfer market, not just for players, but for managers. So when we look at the teams that are ahead of Crystal Palace, that's the standard of manager, and that's the standard of transfer strategy that they need to adapt now to bridge that gap, to maintain that top half position and try and strive into the top 7-6 positions when you have a good season. And even below that Crystal Palace line, the quality of manager is still pretty good. You know, we're not going to evaluate the Premier League here, but you would expect Chelsea and Man United over time, because of budget, to probably push ahead of Crystal Palace. But with only 7 goals conceded, not a lot of goals scored, missing your 2 most creative players, having already played away at Old Trafford, you know, I think this could be a really good season. I do think Crystal Palace are in a great position of strength right now, where they could appoint a new manager, go into a January transfer window, get an identity sorted ahead of next season, and make it really special. But by using Crystal Palace on this line in the table, you'll be able to see what the problem then becomes. As soon as you think about the organic route that we've discussed already, the Graham Potter route that we're going to write out, if you then look at, imagine Newcastle were to change manager tomorrow, who would they appoint? There's not really an obvious answer. When Tottenham were trying to replace Conte in the summer, there wasn't really that much of an obvious answer who they should be getting either. If Arteta, Pep, if any of these guys moved on from the top clubs, who would they go after? There's not that many clear guys out there anyway, even at the tippy top level, which makes that next level of manager, the guys that are really affecting the Premier League table now, like Unai Emery's, David Moyes, De Zerbi's, and even Ange Postecoglou's, and these types of guys are now getting taken up into the, you know, up the food chain in the Premier League management stakes, as it were. So Crystal Palace need to be really cute and get that next De Zerbi, get that next guy that could be coming up to make a real promising career for themselves. And how good is this? The guys at QuinnBet have enhanced their UK welcome offer, where you can now get a free bet up to £35. It's for new customers that sign up only. You can check out the full terms and conditions on the website, quinbet.com, or by clicking on the link that's in the description in the pinned comment of the video. By clicking on that link when you sign up to make your account, you actually support all the content here at the channel. So I thank you in advance if you do so. It looks great to me. It's really impressive, but it is 18 plus. And remember, folks, always gamble responsibly. And the number 1 free agent that springs to mind that fits that criteria is Marcelo Gallardo. Now, the River Plate manager who brought through Enzo Fernandez and Julian Alvarez is still unattached since leaving River Plate. He took a bit of a hiatus. And FYI, Enzo Fernandez and Julian Alvarez were not like wonder kids when he took over and really got them on their feet and going, winning Copa Libertadores and winning titles and championships. The Argentinian teams, although they do have, like River Plate and Boca, have way more money obviously than the rest of Argentina, but even at that, they do not compete in a financial level with the Brazilian teams. So he does offer a lot of, you know, good qualities, good track record and experience that he could add into this Crystal Palace squad for sure. But there's not that many people that have made that kind of jump of moving into Latin America or moving into main Latin football into a mid-level Premier League team and made a real go of it. I'm thinking about Pellegrini at West Ham and how that kind of panned out. It ran hot, it ran cold, you know, and then never really worked out too much. But I think he could be a good contender for sure. But for me, the number 1 guy, if I was in charge of Crystal Palace's manager department, I would be looking at is Ole Glasner. Ole Glasner took Frankfurt and won the Europa League with them, and The style of football they played for a couple of years was breathtaking, very transition based, where in a 3-5-2, they'll sit tight and defend, but as soon as they turn the ball over and they win it, they'll attack into space with pace and be clinical and kill the opponent on the counter attack. With managing Frankfurt, he took them into Champions League football as well, and overall, he managed to really negotiate a lot of difficult transfer windows, losing best players, having to rediscover some team identity over and over again. And that style of play, I believe he could really adapt to this Crystal Palace team. And really, for where Crystal Palace are now, solid defensively and where their creative options are, that style of play that he implements, I think would probably fit them like a glove, which would make transfer window business a bit easier to deal with. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a few other candidates around European football now that are employed by clubs that are doing a pretty handy job, but there's not enough of them out there, or not many where I would mention them to you in this video saying, yeah, I think that guy has the ability to make the jump into the Premier League. Last year, Andoni Iraola was the babe of the La Liga. Everyone thought, oh, he's doing amazing at Vallecano with the budget and all the rest of it. And we'll see how he does at Bournemouth, but I think it's clear to see he's not made that jump seamlessly. And for the position of strength Crystal Palace are in, I don't know if I would invite that sort of situation on. I'll be really interested to catch the comment section of this video, guys, and we'll chat about this another time, I'm sure. How well can Crystal Palace do in the Premier League? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings, as well as on any organic homegrown managerial appointment they could unearth from the lower leagues from within the footballing pyramid. On screen there now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Stay out of trouble, and yeah, catch you on the next one.